Hello everyone. In today's video, we're going to be answering the question, why should you take the time to learn how to fly helicopters in Flight Sim? Hopefully today you get an opportunity to kind of see why I like them. I'll have kind of a general discussion of why I like them, and I'll just demonstrate some of the things that are just so cool with helicopters. Let's get started. So my introduction to helicopters, of course, began back in the game Simcopter, back in the 1990s, not that long ago. I loved importing my SimCity 2000 lovely cities directly into it and flying around and realizing how stupid my city designs were. Since then, of course, I've always kind of done the helicopter thing sort of on and off. And I had an opportunity to play like your Jane's games and everything along those lines. And I just was always so fascinated by something that was just so much more challenging and so different and so unique and so utility compared to everything else. So the first thing I like to say when I talk about helicopters and why I love them so much is the fact it's the closest to flying a magic carpet you will ever experience. If I want to go, I just go. And I just go. I just went. If I want to make an adjustment to direction, I just make an adjustment to direction. Just as easy as that. Now, like on a magic carpet, if I wanted to go take a look at something, all I have to do is make a couple quick little adjustments, and now I can just immediately bring myself to a pause that quickly, that easily. There's nothing else short of when you're flying in your dreams and you can basically Superman your way around the place that comes close to that sensation. Now, the number two thing that I really enjoy about helicopters, and I'm not making a top 10 list or anything, it's just going to be in the order that the numbers come to my mind, so to speak, is the fact that the helicopter is a hands-on aircraft. Now, many people out there, when they fly Flight Sim, they fly it for so many different reasons. Some people like to load up an airliner, read a book, and let the autopilot do it. I do plenty of that. I find it very enjoyable. Some people like to simulate their favorite general aviation routes and kind of cruise around in that way. Some folks really enjoy just, kind of the idea of, kind of climbing out, doing some stuff in VR. Some people like their stunt shows, recreating military missions. But the one thing I find in flight sims that always kind of happens is that once you kind of get into a groove or you get into a certain autopilot or you got into a certain trim, everything is pretty relaxing. You just kind of go. With helicopters, this is far from the truth. Helicopters, you have to be in control at all times. Just like in if you want to imagine small general aviation planes, if you have no trim or anything, especially those unstable variety, you are the one who has to fly. You have to do the work all the time, all the time. And now some people find that as a bit of a downside, but I actually find it kind of fun because it gives me the chance to really concentrate on flying, which is why I loaded this up. The number three reason, of course, and I always like this, is the view. Helicopters have this super awesome capability of going anywhere at any time as long as the space is small enough. Now, one of the jokes I always like to do, of course, going back to a Simcopter, my passengers are going to be very disappointed at me in a second, is the fact that because you can easily fly anywhere, the aircraft is a very simple to control, like I said, with that magic carpet kind of excitement, there's nothing in the eye. I didn't know they put a cricket pitch in there. Hey, that's nice. We can do really stupid things. Like if I wanted to fly very low, for example, here. I wanted to go see how the traffic on Route 91 is looking today. I could sit here like this, and you can do really hilariously stupid things with this capability. For example, I'm very curious as to where that blue car... Why is there somebody in the wrong lane? There's always somebody in the wrong lane. That's actually one of the biggest ways people know this is a DUI. But I can fly down here like this and enjoy it. And helicopters are designed from the ground up to be incredibly high visibility. For people who fly in VR, helicopters are awesome. You could literally look straight down at the window. You can look forward. You can look around these tiny little cabins and everything like that, just like this. My next reason we're requesting helicopters, or one of the reasons why you should take the time to learn helicopters, is because they are challenging to fly. Now, I say this as something that sounds like it's a bad news, but let's be honest. Pilots like a challenge. They do like a challenge. One of the reasons many pilots become pilots is because it is so challenging. When it comes to helicopters, there is no greater challenge in flying other than doing helicopters, or in my opinion, I think the greatest flying challenge is in-flight refueling. Oh, that's just really hard. But the reality is helicopters are going to make you a better fixed-wing pilot, and helicopters have that nice added challenge that when you finally make it click, it'll completely change your perception of helicopters when you realize just how you think in the direction you want to go, and the helicopter just starts going in that direction. It's an incredible sensation to have that much control. Now, one of the fun stories I like to tell here is that when you're first learning to fly in the real world, you get in the fixed wing, a Cessna 172, a Cherokee 180, and you have a situation where, you do your first flight and you're like, this isn't bad. I'll give me a couple hours and I'll definitely get the hang of this. When you get in a helicopter the first time, and the first day you ever try to actually hover the darn thing, one of the jokes they always say in helicopter land is that you cover a lot of ground when you're learning to hover. You'll say, "I can never do this for all my life. It's impossible. I don't know how anybody can solo a helicopter." But the incredible thing with helicopters is your first solo flight is actually not going to be that farther down or farther up or long from your first flight. Believe it or not, just sticking with it is going to be the thing that makes you a successful helicopter pilot. I remember when I was first trying to learn how to hover a Robinson 22 in the real world, I'm saying, not in this one. I do have some helicopter time. And I like the pulse in my hand make the helicopter vibrate and all these things. But after about an hour of just tooling around with the helicopter, things just started becoming intuitive. One thing, for example, is your peripheral vision starts doing all the work and you stop concentrating on the little stuff. The other thing you start to notice is that the slightest little item suddenly becomes very, very obvious to you. Like we've got a 200 foot per minute descent right now, and I've just looked over at it and I saw that it changed. Because I turned my head, my descent rate had changed. And that gives you an idea of just how sensitive they are. Now, for those of you who are looking for more missions, one of the crazy things with Flight Sim here is that they do have excellent helicopter missions available. You have everything from basically going into the middle of the woods and settling your helicopter down and trying to pick somebody up, to doing hoisting work, which is a lot of work. I can do hoisting work. The biggest problem I have hoisting work is if you're not in VR, it's going to be incredibly, incredibly challenging because you can't look down easily is the easiest way to explain it. But they also have operations where you have to carry heavy cargo. You can do all sorts of missions where you go from one airport to another. And they're all wild, wild missions because helicopters, like I said, are just so hands-on. There are helicopters, believe it or not, with automatic pilots out there. So when I kind of mentioned that, like, oh, well, helicopters, it's too much work to fly a helicopter. It's like without the autopilot, I can't just let it kind of go, set it and forget it, so to speak. And that is true. But like I said, that is one of the reasons I like helicopters. Now, a lot of times we have limited time to fly. We can't go through and, we can't do an 8-hour flight or anything like that. But helicopters give you an opportunity to get that quick flight, go through all the motions of doing that quick flight at the same time as being able to go ahead and learn a little bit of things or two. And that's what I just love about them is they're so compatible with, our busy day kind of flying that they give you the opportunity to basically go through and do your flying without, saying, oh, I don't need a purpose. I just flew around Hartford real quick, kind of a thing like that, and had an opportunity to kind of go through those emotions. And you could see just how awesome it is and how all the controls work. Everything's easy, the simplicity. You can fly these in IFR if you're a masochist, but gosh, I absolutely love them. Enjoy.